Hi everyone. So I know I'm wearing the same outfit, same background. It's because I just filmed the why am I doing YouTube video. So if you haven't seen that, I will put that somewhere up here in like the little I section. I'll also link it down below. So that's why I have the same outfit on. It's not that these are the only clothes that I own. But I just figured since I did the why I'm doing YouTube channel, I would start with the first video that I've been meaning to do and talk about for a while. And if you saw my why I'm doing YouTube, you know it's one of the reasons is having hard talks, right? And so I think I kind of want to call these videos Let's Talk. So let's talk. So hard talk number one. Struggling with anxiety, depression, and suicidal thoughts. As a person, add a layer as a believer, and I say believer because I don't want to label myself as like I'm a Christian or I'm this or I'm that. I'm a believer. I live my life according to what I believe from reading the Bible, and I just consider it a lifestyle. I'm not gonna say it's a religion. So a few years back, I was in a youth camp, and this was kind of the topic that was going on, and I had felt in my heart to give my testimony of what I had gone through. Mind you, I had family members there that knew none of this. I want to say nobody knew any of this because I kept it to myself, and if I wouldn't have said something, nobody would have ever in their right minds known that I had gone through any of this. I mean, just my whole undergrad experience was, I was just going through a lot of stuff. You know, schedule wise, I took on a double major my sophomore year. You know, I was doing 21 credits a semester. I was really active in my church. I was doing a lot of stuff, you know, plus trying to balance my social life. You know, I was in a serious relationship with my now husband. It was just a lot of stuff going on at the same time. And I'm that kind of person that I can handle anything. I can tackle anything. And I will get it done, and if you tell me I can't do it, it's even more fuel for me to get it done, and I'm gonna do it, period. So I'm a very headstrong, determined person. I'm gonna get it done, and I have this belief that if I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it right. So it's not like, oh, I'm gonna get it done. I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it right. So I just had a lot going on, and I was spread really thin. And in my mind, you know, I came last, right? Like, you know, don't worry about me. I just want to get everything that I need to get done, do it the best that I can, and make everybody happy. That was my thing. I wanted everybody to be happy, and you know, no matter what I had to do, that's what I was going to do. And I just had so much stress, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't do everything. I couldn't manage everything. I mean, somehow I sort of did, but there was just cracks, right? Cracks in the whole thing. And you know, bottom line, I couldn't do everything, and I couldn't keep everybody happy. And so it all kind of started with me getting anxiety attacks. You know, and the way it affected me was I started hyperventilating. I couldn't breathe, and you know, sometimes my fingers would go numb, or my like face or my lips would go numb, and I would just like hyperventilate. And so I would naturally start crying because I was freaking out that I couldn't breathe. And it was new to me, right? My body had never done that before. I had never reacted that way before. Over time, I actually became very good at hiding it and controlling it, right? And what would end up happening was I would feel it coming, but I would kind of contain it, if that makes sense. And eventually it would come out. It would come out some other way. I randomly broke out into an anxiety attack where I started hyperventilating, and nothing was happening. You know, it wasn't a stressful situation. It's not that something was going on. I was just sitting there, and then out of nowhere, I couldn't breathe. And you know, it was just like everything that was going on and all that stress and whatever had built up, that I had just like, my body just reacted. And the thing is, I won't show it to you. I will hide it, and no one around me knows that it's happening and that I'm going through this, but it happens and I'm going through this. And so it started off with anxiety. Anxiety became depression, and I didn't realize I was depressed until later, because I wasn't that person that was just always in bed and didn't want to do anything and was lethargic and etc. But I had discovered later that there's such a thing called active depression, and that's where you can be an active functioning person and still be depressed. When I tell you that for, I mean, I want to say like about 3 years, I cried every day. I cried every day. And it was just in so many different scenarios that, you know, my bedroom, the backseat of my car. Sometimes I would be driving on the highway and it was just hard to even see because of how many tears were coming down my face. And I cried every day, sometimes multiple times a day. And, you know, it was just difficult for me to handle everything, to be the person that I wanted to be, but who I wanted to be had nothing to do with me. Who I wanted to be was who everybody else needed me to be. And I think what made it worse was I couldn't talk to anybody about it because I didn't want anybody to even know that I was going through this, right? I needed to be strong. I needed to be a strong person, and I needed to get over it. When I realized that stress that I was going through and that I wasn't going anywhere, and it was just gonna keep going and going and going, I started to become suicidal because over time it was just too much, right? Like, I was strong enough to handle it in moments, and I was strong enough to be able to fight it short term. But when I realized that this was, you know, this was like a trajectory that was just lasting me so long, it just began to look really bleak and sad for me. And, you know, emotionally, it was just so rough that it just became more painful as the days went on, and the pain ran so deep. I just wanted it to end. And, you know, when I tell you the pain hurt so much, it was like one of those things where, you know, I was crying, but I had to cry with like my face buried in the floor, because for some reason I couldn't do it with my face buried in my bed or my pillow. It didn't feel deep enough for me. I don't even know if that makes sense. I felt like no one understood, because again, I didn't speak to anybody about it. I felt like not only would they judge me and think that I was weak and less of a person, so I just kept dealing with it by myself. And over time, you know, it just continued, right? The anxiety attacks and crying every day and just wanting it to end, and you know, just now 2 years, and I just didn't see an end. I didn't see a light. I didn't see an escape. And over time, I truly believe that since I couldn't be the person that everybody needed me to be, that life would just be better if I weren't around. That the people around me would probably be happier if I weren't around. And, you know, of course, they're gonna say, well, that's not true, right? And I know now it's not true, but when I tell you that in that moment, when you are having thoughts like that, when you have suicidal thoughts, you truly believe that. And I truly believed that. I truly believed that if I wasn't around, that everybody else's life would be better. It'd be more peaceful. It would be more productive. You know, I wouldn't be a burden to somebody else. I remember just scenarios where I was like, this is it. This is the moment I'm gonna do it, and this is how I'm gonna do it. I don't want to sit here and tell you all the different scenarios that I thought of to almost take my life, because I don't want to give anybody ideas. You know, I remember at one point I was sitting there and I was like, yeah, well, you know, I don't want to be alive. There are people around me who want to be alive, you know, who are sick, who are dying. take me instead and let someone else live, because I don't want to do this anymore. I want to say the biggest reason why I was so scared to take my own life was because my personal belief is that if I were to have taken my own life, I wouldn't get salvation. I wouldn't live forever, right? When Yeshua decided to come, I wouldn't live, you know, this great life that we read about in the Bible, that we know of. And in my mind, I said, well, great, you know, I'm ending my suffering here, but then, you know, I'm just gonna delay my long-term suffering in another life. And I didn't want that. You know, crying every day and having that deep emotional and like mental pain, it caused me to dive into a world of cutting myself. And so I would do it, but I would do it sneakily. I would do it in places that weren't obvious, because again, I didn't want people to know that, hey, I was struggling hard. And so I would cut myself in places that were like easily hidden, that no one was gonna see. The reason why I did it was because the emotional pain that I was going through was so strong that I needed to distract myself and feel it in another way. And so cutting myself made me think about the physical pain I was going through instead of the emotional pain. And I was going through all these things, but in the moment I was trying to be really sneaky with it, because I wanted no one to know that these were things that I was struggling with and things that I was battling against. I do remember one day I was about to shower. I caught myself in the mirror and I'm looking at my arms and my body, and I just see all these cuts. And I remember looking at myself and I just started crying, and all I could think was, look at you. This can't be me right now. I never thought I would turn into this type of person that would cut herself, that would cry all the time and be in this loop. This can't be what is meant for me. I remember there was one day I got mad. I was done. I was over it. I was tired. I'm gonna take myself out of this black hole, and that's it. I'm done. I'm done. I'm over it. And mentally I had this shift. I'm not gonna cut myself. I'm not gonna cry anymore. I'm not gonna put people before me. I'm not gonna put circumstances before me. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do anything, right? I come first, period. And everybody else can just deal with it. I didn't want to hear anything from anybody. And, you know, I couldn't really blame anybody because no one knew, right? No one knew what I was going through. And I made sure they didn't know. But I mean, at that point, I was just so done. I was just so angry. I was just so mad. So I became this whole other person. And I just let go of circumstances and pushed people away, and you know, etc., because I needed to find me again. I needed to find who I was. I needed to take care of myself, and I needed to get out of this dark hole that I was in bad. But the way I went about it wasn't healthy. It wasn't cool. I alienated myself and I pushed everybody out of my life because I needed to discover who I was, and I did, but dangerously, because it didn't all go away. I still clung on to certain things that I needed. You know, I still tried to get reassurance and, you know, love from places and people, and it was just difficult. And eventually I kind of figured it out. Put yourself first, and constantly remember to put yourself first in a good way. You know, have people be part of your lives, do things, but understand what your limits are. I had to understand what my new limits were, that because back then I had no limits, right? I could do anything, and I still believe that to this day, but I know I have limits. Stay away from triggers. I know what my triggers are. I know what are situations that trigger me, you know, thoughts that trigger me, and I have to constantly keep myself in check and talk to myself sometimes. And when I'm in a situation, whether I see it coming or whether I don't see it coming, I have to tell myself in that moment, okay, no, I can't do this. This is a trigger. My greatest fear is losing myself again into that spot, because getting out of there and going through what I went through was so bad that I don't know that if I were to go back into that, if I were to make it out again. And I will, if I have to exit a conversation, I will, period. If I have to, you know, chill and back up in certain responsibilities, I will, because I refuse to go back to where I was. Make sure that people in your life understand that all of these things, anxiety, depression, suicidal thoughts, you know, cutting yourself, all these things, they are part of a mental illness. And I tell people that all the time. I go, just because you can't see the things that make me sick, like you can see diabetes or you can see other things, it doesn't mean that it's not a thing. For example, alcoholism. A person could be sober for 30 years and they can still be considered an alcoholic, in the sense of one sip of a drink can spiral them, right? And just like people respect people who are sober in alcoholism and etc., I tell people all the time, I go, you need to respect that what I went through was very real, and it continues to be real. And you need to understand that these are things that just don't go away, because till this day, I do have triggers. You know, I do kind of have that voice in the back of my head that says, well, just cut yourself. I mean, it's only one time. But I know if I do it one time, it's over. Like the progress that I've made is gone, and all the things that I've done right are suddenly gonna feel so wrong and disappointing. So I tell people all the time, I go, just because you can't see what I battle, like you can see a physical sickness, you can't pretend that it doesn't exist, and you can't treat me like it doesn't. I struggle with this daily, and there are days where it's more present than others. There are days it's really in my face, and I do feel like I did cross to the other side. I overcame, you know, that moment where no, I'm not crying every day, and no, you know, I don't have daily suicidal thoughts the way I did. No, I don't cut myself anymore. And so I do consider that I won, but I don't ignore that I still go through these things. I still have my days, I still have triggers, but I have to be aware enough of my circumstances in my life and my situation to know where my limits are, and to keep myself in check, to keep myself first, to have mental health days where if I just need to go to a Starbucks and have coffee and just sit there and maybe do work or read a book, or just sit in my car and just feel the sun in my face, whatever it is, just to keep me in check and just have that time to myself, then those are things that I need to do, and those are priority. Right? And that's how I've adjusted my life to help myself through these situations. But there are always going to be things that I face and that I deal with. I accept that though. But what I won't accept is allowing it to overtake me the way that it once did. I refuse to accept that. And I will continue to live my life keeping myself in check, keeping myself first. And that's my recommendation for you. So sorry if the quality has changed a bit, or if it looks a little different. My camera died, so I'm just trying to finish this video real quick on my phone. But yeah, so do whatever it is that works for you. I had to find what worked for me, and everybody's different. Everybody's situation is different, and the way all these elements present themselves in everybody else's life is different and will be different. But all I can say is just know it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter where you came from. But know that everybody's fighting a battle. Be kind to people, please. And don't just assume that the strongest person around you can be treated however which way because they can handle it and they can take it. Know that they're fighting a battle too, and maybe, just maybe, they're fighting the toughest one, and they're strong because they feel the need to be strong. You don't know who's going through what, and how long they've been going through it, and the battles that are being fought behind closed doors. And that's why I wanted to talk about it, because it was hard for me to talk about my battle. I went through it for so long until I was done, and I was gonna die with this story. I was never gonna tell anybody that I went through this. In case you stumbled upon my video, no, it doesn't matter who you are. What matters is that you are going through it, or you have gone through it, right? Period. And what matters is that you fight it, and that you beat it, and you come up with things that work for you, that help you move to the other side. And talk to somebody, because you'd be surprised how many people around you are going through the exact same thing and are saying nothing. If there are questions that you have, you can always comment below and reach out to me, and I will do the best that I can to answer them, because at the end of the day, it's not about me, right? These little let's talk videos, it's about helping other people. Because in my moments, I wish that I would have been able to open up enough for someone to help me. I hope that this video helped you in some way, in some form, or maybe it'll help somebody you know. And just know that, you know, there's somebody out there that loves you. You may not know it, you may not feel it right now, but they're there. So that's all for this video. Thank you. If you have made it all the way to the end, thank you so much for sticking it out with me and watching this all the way to the end, and hearing my story and hearing everything that I have to say. And I really do hope that it helped you in some way, shape, or form. So yeah, that's it. Bye.